Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 10 minutes is too short a time to cover the many and serious issues with the premise, content and implications of this bill. But in the time that I have, I will outline to the House some of the central problems with a bill which, far from being progressive, would be a charter for unsafe abortion practices not dissimilar to the backstreet abortions which the Abortion Act was supposedly meant to end. First, though, let me thank the honourable member for Hull North for giving the House an opportunity to briefly debate this important policy area. Too often today, debates around abortion, the risks involved and the rights of the unborn child are shut down. But I and many colleagues who share my views will not be silenced as we seek to be a voice for the voiceless, and as we argue for a more modern and humane abortion law that not only upholds the dignity and rights of women, but the dignity and rights of the unborn child. I'm against this bill, Mr. Speaker, firstly because this bill is based on the false premise that women who seek ordinary abortions are living under the constant shadow of arrest. This is clearly not the case. The rhetoric around this bill may alarm members, but let us look at the actual facts. Abortion is widely available under the terms of the Abortion Act. Prosecutions are exceptionally rare. In many years, there have been no prosecutions at all, and in the past 2 years, there were just 2 convictions, both in extreme and disturbing scenarios. One was of a man who attacked a pregnant woman and caused her to miscarry. That prosecution is an example of the current law seeking to stand up for a woman and punish someone who's committed a terrible crime against her and her unborn child. Yet this bill may make it harder to prosecute that man in the future. What an unjust and unregressive change.
Order. Apologise. The honourable member of Kingston upon Hull North was heard with courtesy. And the honourable lady must be heard, and with equal courtesy. Maria Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member raises the possibility of growing availability of the abortion pills as a reason to seek to liberalise the law. But if availability is increasing, that should motivate greater concern for women's safety and health and make us more wary of further liberalisation of the law. Abortion is still a major and often risky procedure for the woman involved. If abortion pills can be so easily bought over the internet, perhaps by an abusive boyfriend or husband, that should lead us to take steps to protect young and vulnerable women from these potentially dangerous products. Take the young teenager, terrified to discover she's pregnant, who Googles abortion pills online. What she needs is not fewer legal safeguards. What she needs is support and information, something that this bill would take away. By repealing sections 58 and 59 of the Offences Against the Person Act, on which the Abortion Act is constructed, this bill would make the Abortion Act, with its safeguards, obsolete and unenforceable. It would leave that young teenage girl less safe. Take, for example, the requirements that 2 doctors must certify the abortion, which this bill would remove. For a woman deciding what to do following an unplanned pregnancy, these conversations with a doctor can be important and safe moments to discuss their situation and make more informed decisions about the medical options and risks about a major and invasive procedure. What is more, they can provide a woman in an abusive relationship what may be her only chance to speak to someone about the pressure she's been put under to abort a child she may want to keep. Why should we take this opportunity away from women? The campaign behind this bill claims we trust women. Yet polling in 2014 showed that 92% of women say that a pregnant woman should always be seen in person by a qualified doctor. So far from trusting women, this campaign is seeking to change a central aspect of abortion provision in the UK, in direct opposition to the vast majority of British women's views. Proponents of this bill claim to be pro-choice. Yet, as has been the case again and again over recent years, they seem to be firmly against helping women make informed choices. Regardless of the issue, regardless of the facts, the only answer they have is to liberalise the law. Mr. Speaker, this bill would not protect women. Instead, it would embolden those men who pressurise women into abortions they do not wish to have. Whether it is a controlling relationship or wider communal discrimination and pressures that tell a woman she must abort her child because it is a girl, because it has Down syndrome, because it has a disability. This bill would make those women more vulnerable. One professor of medical law and ethics wrote to MPs last week and said, if Section 58 were to be repealed, it is far from obvious that even the surreptitious administration of abortion pills to women would necessarily continue to constitute an offence. Indeed, by undermining all the safeguards and regulations around abortion up to 24 weeks, this bill becomes a charter for extreme abortion practices, such as sex-selective abortions. Polling again amongst 88% of women favour an explicit ban on sex-selective abortion. Yet many of the organisations behind this bill oppose this ban, and the honourable member herself voted against a ban in 2015. So much for trusting women. Indeed, one of the models mentioned today points to a law in Canada, which has, according to the Canadian Medical Association Journal, turned Canada into a haven for parents who would terminate female fetuses in favour of having a son. Or the other model that was mentioned, the law in Victoria, Australia, a law which has led to a reported 600% increase in late-term abortions in one hospital just in a 2-year period. Is that something to celebrate or copy? And indeed, many UK midwives have spoken out against this proposed bill, with thousands joining the Not in Our Name campaign to stop this bill becoming law. And this brings me to the current state of UK abortions in this country. I'm amazed that the backers of this bill, including private abortion providers, have the gall to propose these changes, which would remove regulations at a time when the UK abortion industry is knee-deep in revelations of unethical, unsafe and unprofessional practices. In recent years, we have seen doctors pre-signing bulk abortion forms and offering sex-selective abortions. We have seen live babies being left to die following abortions that have gone wrong. We have seen children aborted just for possessing minor disabilities such as a cleft palate or a club foot. And last year, the Care Quality Commission had to step in to protect women from potential harm at Mary Stopes abortion facilities. And their subsequent reports showed that women were left at risk of infection. Staff were not trained in how to respond to deteriorating patients, and post-surgery checks were completed before surgery had even started. Only last week, another expose on Mary Stopes International revealed that abortions were being approved on the basis of telephone calls as short as 22 seconds, with medically untrained call centre workers. No wonder these abortion providers are calling for a bill which would get rid of the regulations and safeguards in the Abortion Act. Mr. Speaker, this bill is a response to a non-existent threat. It would exacerbate the dangers posed by an increased availability of abortion pills, and it would remove some of the few protections and regulations in abortion law, fuelling unethical and unsafe practices in many UK abortion clinics and leaving women less safe and less informed. A 21st century approach to this area must be based on a fuller and richer understanding of human dignity and equality, which doesn't treat a woman as a victim of her own body, which doesn't treat children as commodities, and which doesn't treat marginalised people such as young girls or children with Down syndrome as burdens or inconveniences. On this count, this bill fails. It is not a serious or positive proposal. It helps neither women nor unborn children, and this House should firmly reject it.